right. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. It is time for Wisconsin weather experts.
So excited about this Friday. I mean,
it's
Friday, which is always good. Yeah, even back when I worked weekends, Friday still had some charm to it,
Absolutely.
right? And it's a beautiful day. I'm excited to hear about the extended forecast, the regional forecast coming up in a bit, because we're not alone.
No,
the whole region,
so many spots.
No matter where you go in the state this weekend, it's going to be beautiful. But it is also an interesting date where kind of space history and weather history crossed over a little bit.
Yeah.
It was today, back in 1969, 30 seconds into the flight to the moon, Apollo 12 was struck by lightning. And then again, 20 seconds later, knocked out the electronic navigation system, nearly forced the second moon mission to be scrubbed altogether. But some very quick-thinking crew members and engineers work around, figured out how to make that work. And of course, as we all know from the history books, Apollo 12 was a successful mission. That was the crew. It just obviously happily back on the ground.
And it's really, right, exactly. Very incredible, just the talent is not the word I should use, but how well-rounded a lot of these astronauts are.
Sure,
you know, you have to be trained in so many different fields because you're essentially up there by yourself. I mean, you can talk to, you know, command and stuff like that. But
it's like that classic scene from Apollo 13 where he dumps all the stuff on the table. And he's like, this is what they have.
Right.
Figure out how to fix it. And so, you know, you got to have not only the intelligence to know how things work, but the intelligence to be able to improvise around what you do and do not have. So, again, fascinating being struck by lightning twice on takeoff, Apollo 12. Of course, again, a successful mission.
Thankful for that.
Another mission that's successful as well.
Yeah, after several delays, we finally have liftoff for Blue Origin.
Liftoff detected. Transmission.
And there you have it. Lots of cheers for the company's new Glenn rocket at Cape Canaveral. So the rocket is carrying 2 satellites which will eventually orbit Mars. But they won't get there until sometime in 2027, so it is going to take some time. Blue Origin had to delay the launch due to extensive solar activity, you know, the solar storm that brought us to Northern Lights the last couple of days, and then a few other times before that for weather, as well as vent valve issues.
It's amazing to watch, right?
It never gets old. It's
really
still just so fascinating.
Yeah, and to think, you know, just yesterday we were talking about the first satellite to orbit Mars, Mariner 9, you know, and here we are, these, 65 years later or whatever the math turns out to be, watching another mission and the mapping and the prep for potentially putting astronauts on Mars.
Yeah.
So, all right, there you go. Let's go to California, the other coast, right, from the Space Coast to the West Coast. Parts of California, though, dealing with some powerful fall storms. It's been bringing heavy rain and the threat of flooding. Evacuation warnings are already in place for several of the burn scar areas, so the areas that dealt with the wildfires. Once that's done, they call that a burn scar, and that's very problematic because it's destroyed the root system rather, and the structural systems for the soil there, and that's why the flood could then lead to mudslides as well all across Southern California. Yeah,
it can't absorb any of that water. It's basically just runoff. Now, one of those spots, actually, Altadena, California, in Los Angeles County, is under an evacuation order due to, as we just talked about, the possibility of mud and debris flows. And clearly, you can see some of the strong wind
size of that tree.
Just crushing that pretty decent-sized vehicle there. So they've already dealt with, over the last couple of days, the thunderstorm, the strong wind, the heavy rainfall. This is all expected to continue through Sunday, by the way. So people should be ready to leave at a moment's notice and are told to gather loved ones, pets, documents, medications, and other important supplies to prepare. So a very strong storm, and it's a series of, you know, waves of some of this really heavy rain in these areas.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, the combination of that and then the burn scars that can't absorb the water, so it all goes to runoff. You've got the destruction of the natural ecosystem there that can also lend itself to the mudslides, and obviously the trees in the area being taken down doesn't help either. So We'll be thinking about that for a while. There are road closures along with the evacuation orders in the Palisades. Flooding again, as we talked about. The burn scar is a big concern. National Weather Service says 3 to 6 inches of rain anticipated there, mainly today into Saturday, with mountain areas receiving the biggest dose of wet weather. So again, then you start to watch. You've got the mountainous regions, you've got the potential for mudslides and rock slides and issues there as well.
Yeah, and to San Francisco now, there were flooded roadways, crashes, and including this one near the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge. So 2 cars collided on the westbound side of Interstate 580, causing a major backup during the height of the morning commute. And Caltrans crews were on hand for flash flooding in a nearby valley off Highway 101. Vehicles had to maneuver around standing water near Highway 1 and Shoreline Road. If you are familiar with that area, that video tells the tale.
What a mess that is.
There's a lot of heavy rain with this system.
No doubt. Another tree down in an intersection in San Francisco as well. There you go, another mess right there. Happy to say no one was hurt. Pickup truck was damaged. The rain left parts of that street in the Bayview neighborhood submerged. Pools of water left people struggling for a way to get by, even on the sidewalks.
Wow.
As you can see here, getting creative just to get around all of that. People in this area had to find a safe way to navigate through. There's a sizable homeless population that had to deal with that as well. That area became flooded. People having a difficult time, dealing with that and trying to get out of the area.
Yeah, so this again going to continue in Southern California specifically for the weekend.
That's right. Yeah, basically that entire area, farther up the coast to San Francisco as well. But now we go to the Big Apple for a brief about the hail that's been hitting parts of Brooklyn in the last 24 hours. Cold snap, of course, brought the first snowfall of the season to New York earlier this week. Things a little bit more on the warmer side, but now they're dealing with some hail there as well. So we've just been all over the map in both weather types and, of course, things, as far as what's falling from the sky, and, of course, all across the map as far as locations as well.
And when we talk regional weather too, we have more of this, somewhat weather whiplash on the way this weekend. We have a couple more mild days ahead, but we are going to drop heading on into Sunday. So at least here locally. So again, we're warming things up for a couple of days, then we're going to drop a bit. But here's a look at what's going on across the country right now. We are very quiet here in the central U.S. Series of high-pressure systems bringing sunshine, very mild air. You can still see some of the activity along New England states, but that low pressure is making its way up towards the north. And then notice out towards the west, we've got a system really impacting northwestern parts of the country, and then that heavy rainfall and storm system impacting parts of California and the Southwest. And that will linger for a few more days, unfortunately, bringing strong wind. The higher elevations in Eastern California, the mountainous regions still dealing with those winter weather advisories for some of the accumulating snow. And even up into Washington State, Idaho, Montana, you can tell that it's just a bit more unsettled across the western half of the United States. Still a small portion, again, of those higher elevations under winter weather advisories, as well as winter storm warnings for more of the snow as well as the wintry mix, while closer to the coast, it's the heavy rainfall, the wind, the thunderstorms. In fact, there are a handful of communities in Southern California that are under flood watches that go all the way through Sunday. We talked earlier about the National Weather Service saying 3, maybe 6 inches at the highest point of rain possible over the next couple of days in these areas. So that's the reason why there is still going to be that flood watch in place, including for the LA area on into the weekend. Other than that, the wind advisories have been allowed to expire with the exception of a handful of communities across Montana. But you can tell there's still, between some at least somewhat stronger wind and dry conditions and low relative humidity, fire risk here for southern South Dakota, as well as the North Platte, Nebraska area where all the red flag warnings are in effect. The rest of us, again, really quiet, and we'll be thankful for that. Bringing you back to the Great Lakes region, the state of Wisconsin, we are watching a boundary that's off towards the west. Now, this is going to continue to move through Wisconsin as a warm front later tonight into Saturday morning. That's the reason why temperatures, you'll notice by tomorrow morning, will be very mild. We may not drop a lot throughout our overnight hours. We may wake up to middle and upper 50s tomorrow morning. So it is going to be quite a bit on the mild side for your start to Saturday. What we'll watch then after that, a few clouds off and on throughout Saturday, slight chance for a sprinkle, but it's more so this incoming cold front that's going to pass by later Saturday evening, and that's going to bring in the cooler air heading on into Sunday. We're still going to see sunshine, windy conditions, but there is going to be a pretty stark difference in temperatures between Saturday and Sunday. We could easily see some low to mid 60s Saturday and then mid to upper 40s on Sunday. Now for today, though, we're still out ahead of this system. So we're enjoying the warmth today with highs in the 50s and 60s. You'll notice that even Saturday, too, we're going to be back to 60s. Notice then Saturday evening, we start to drop as that cold front returns. We're likely statewide going to see 20s, 30s for lows Sunday morning, and then stay in the 40s for much of the state by Sunday afternoon for those high temperatures, then even cooler conditions ahead for Monday morning. So yes, we've got some changes on the way. Now temperatures today again and on into tomorrow still looking really good, but then you'll notice how we drop to 40s. And I know we have some dry weather still, but we do actually need a little bit more in the way of rainfall. Didn't get a chance to actually show you guys the drought monitor from yesterday, but we are falling a little bit behind now when it comes to rain. So even though we're, dry through the weekend, still see some sunshine, we do, at this point, need at least a little bit more, and that could return heading on into next week.
Yeah, and we are past the growing season, but it is still important that we maintain some sort of soil moisture through the winter because we want it by the time we roll into spring.
Exactly.
Farmers are out there and gardeners are out there. You are out there, and we appreciate that. Stay there. We'll be right back. If you want to go outside, just take us on your phone.
Yeah.
You can watch us on Fox Local right here and then be in the sun.
Fancy
we'll be
app.
Back. 2 minutes. All right, welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. We have some cute animal alerts for you right now. I mean, how adorable are these two, right?
I love them.
A couple of cute red pandas for snow of the season. They actually quite enjoyed it. They were good with it. The brothers named Mr. Darcy and Dr. Wallace. They live at the Knoxville Zoo in Tennessee. The pair explored their habitat, took a little nap amid these snow flurries. Zoo officials say red pandas are built for cold weather, so they were good with it.
Yeah, there you go. They probably don't often see a ton of it.
They do have like that natural fur coat going on.
Yeah.
They look
thick
super
fur
fluffy.
coat.
Probably don't, they don't snuggle as well as you might suspect, but they do look pretty comfy with it for sure. Other animals are not built for it.
Right, exactly. So this is interesting. We talk about iguanas a lot in cold Florida.
Falling out of the trees.
Yeah. Dozens of sea turtles actually had to be rescued from a local Florida beach due to the recent cold snap when temperatures dropped into the 30s, that is. Our colleagues from Fox 35 in Orlando have this story.
We're all gonna go to the zoo, okay? Everybody's gonna get to the zoo, don't worry.
This is where it started. The alarm was raised when two women found dozens of motionless baby green sea turtles scattered on the sand.
Walking on the beach in the morning, down here every day, saw a baby sea turtle, and then, investigating further for any more, and there were 45 in total. They looked like they were dead in their tracks.
Teresa McPherson and her friend Dora Wiarda quickly called the Sea Turtle Preservation Society. And at the time, they weren't sure the little turtles would make it.
Sad because I wasn't sure whether they were alive, but then Teresa said, help me pick them up, and then of course that was fun, so to speak, and hopefully they'll make it.
The cold-stunned hatchlings were quickly collected and brought in. And throughout the day, the rescue teams took in a staggering number of turtles.
We had about 300 hatchlings that were turned in to the Sea Turtle Preservation Society.
The most vulnerable hatchlings were rushed to the Brevard Zoo Sea Turtle Healing Center. Zoo officials confirmed the turtles were cold-blooded and just weren't in a condition to handle the cold weather. While many of the turtles brought in didn't survive, the remaining hatchlings have been slowly warmed and are now a lot stronger. Strong enough that they've been released back into the water tonight. So if you ever find yourself in the same position as Teresa and Doro while on the beach,
never put a sea turtle back in the water. If that animal is on the shore, it's there for a reason, and the worst thing you can do is put it back into the water.
Wow, I did not know that about sea turtles.
No,
That's actually really helpful.
And I mean, you got to give it up to those two lovely women who stepped up to help out, because I'm not sure I would have known what to do. So good for them. And now we know if we're ever down there and we see that on a cold snap, because it would be just like me to have a Florida vacation hit by cold weather.
Same.
Right? It's always the meteorologist. We never quite get it right. But the weather is obviously connected a lot of times to headaches. Headaches can be triggered by shifts in barometric pressure, temperature, humidity as well. And if you have regular migraine headaches, researchers are now saying you've got a lot of company. There's a brand new report that just came out. It shows nearly 1 in every 3 worldwide suffer from a headache disorder. That amounts to almost 3 billion people. Researchers found that it's especially bad for women who experience more than double the lifetime headaches related to their health, of course, and that's double of what men see. The study said people are compounding the problem, though. They're compounding their headaches by using too many painkillers, which then can cause medication overdose headaches. For the study, the team analyzed data on nearly 42,000 people from 18 countries to create an estimate of the global health burden caused by headaches in the year 2023. Findings will appear in the December issue of the Lancet on Neurology.
It is so tricky because pressure changes, fall cleanup. There are so many factors weather-wise that can cause headaches.
Right, that trigger headaches. I've been fortunate never to have a full-blown migraine, but I've had those bad headaches that you just can't get to go away. So I understand why people are turning to medication, and then that's causing problems as well. So it's a fascinating study, and hopefully they'll find some answers. We've been definitely blessed with these northern lights.
Oh, we have.
And we keep finding awesome new video. Check out this stunning time lapse of the northern lights Wednesday.
Oh, incredible.
From Green Bay. This is from one of our cameras up there, part of the Weather Vision series of cameras showing a time lapse. And there's that dancing effect,
Yeah,
I mean, it's a time lapse, so it's obviously exaggerated, but it does really show you that.
It does, and it's nice to see a taste of what northern Wisconsin sees, because usually northern Wisconsin gets the better show than those of us in the south. So it's a cool opportunity to be able to see their view from one of our cameras.
Yeah, look at the colors and the motion there for sure. Of course, this most recent event went all the way down into the southern states as well, so weren't alone in that. And as Tom was talking about yesterday with the solar cycles, we better enjoy it while it's happening because we're trending downward in the next
another
few years.
year or so.
Won't see quite as many of these. You will see a little bit more of us, though, if you stick around right here on Fox Local and the Fox 6 YouTube channel. Wisconsin Weather Experts is back in 2 minutes.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wisconsin Weather Experts. Thanks for staying with us here on Fox Local, as well as the Fox 6 YouTube page.
That's right. So we've had this beautiful, clear, sunshiny day, and that's wonderful. And then clouds are going to roll in tonight, but it actually is a good thing because we have this mild day today, and it will help us out tonight. If you want to know a bit more about cloudy versus clear nights, well, that's why we have meteorologist Holly Baker here to explain.
Have you ever wondered why we have warmer temperatures during cloudy nights and cooler temperatures during clear nights? Well, I'm here to explain it to you. Well, during the day of every day, we have the sun that comes up. And once the sun comes up, all of the radiation from the sun that actually heats up the surface in the ground during the day. But once that goes down, once the sun goes down, a lot of that heat that we accumulated during the day, it escapes. It escapes back up into space. So how do we get warmer temperatures out of that if all of the heat is escaping? Well, that's because whenever you have those clouds act as a blanket. And when they act as a blanket, usually it blocks all of the warmer air from ascending all the way up into space. It actually re-emits some of that heat back down to the surface, and that creates warmer temperatures overnight whenever we have cloudy skies versus clear nights. So whenever we have clear nights, we don't have any clouds, and usually all of at least the solar radiation that has warmed the ground, that all escapes back up into space with nothing re-emitting back down to keep us warm, and that is what creates those cooler temperatures.
There you go. We say that a lot whenever we have cloud cover at night, that they act as our blanket. They help us out temperature-wise.
And so that means tonight will actually be a lot warmer than some of the days we have had. I mean, we'll likely be in the upper 40s tonight, closer to what a daytime high would be this time of year.
Right.
And it's amazing how much that cloud cover can impact that loss of heat during the course of the night. So thank you to Holly for the explainer there. Things like that, you know, and things about the way our natural world works have always been explained in the Almanac, but it's the end of an era. After more than 200 years, the Farmer's Almanac will publish its final edition. The publication announced that its 2026 edition will be the last, citing financial challenges of producing and distributing the book. The website will continue to be available until the end of the year. So what's in store for our area, for our Great Lakes region this winter? Well, according to the Farmer's Almanac, we can expect to see colder, snowier conditions in the Great Lakes, with a significant cold snap forecast to occur mid-January to mid-February. But again, that's the old Farmer's Almanac. There are two competing almanacs and have been for over a century now. There's the old Farmer's Almanac and then the Farmer's Almanac. So one will continue. I guess it won the race there. And it's the longer, more established one. I mean, they've both been around for like 200 years.
Right.
But the younger upstart of like, you know, only 200 years as opposed to 240 years is going to stop producing their forecast. And what I found interesting when this story came out is that the two actually had competing forecasting methods. Now, what they use for forecasting is not what we use.
Correct.
Right? What we're using is based on a lot of climate data, a lot of scientific atmospheric research and things like that.
Yeah.
The old Farmer's Almanac didn't have that when it started, so they had different methods back then, and some of them not necessarily hold up to today's science sniff test, but that's okay. It was still fascinating reading. But I thought it was interesting that they had two differing methods.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't really even know at the beginning that there were two separate almanacs in general.
I don't think a lot of people do, and that may have been the problem, that you've got two competing for a similar space. I will say they both offer a lot of wonderful things. I wouldn't go to them for my weather forecasts, but I do go to them for gardening information. They have some lovely historical information.
Yeah, a lot of folklore too, which is just fascinating.
Yes. Yeah, weather folklore is fascinating because sometimes there's like a little grain of truth in there. You know, that we kind of learn why they said that years later. Like red sky in the morning, sailors take warning. We now know that's from cirrus clouds coming in ahead of a storm that makes that sunrise red. And yeah, sailors take warning because the storm's coming.
Exactly.
But others, not so much. Like, for example, the woolly bear caterpillar. One of my favorites. I mean, it's an adorable caterpillar. Yeah. It's a fluffy little thing, almost like those red pandas. I just saw one the other day. And did it have a big band in the middle or a small one? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Because the bigger the band, the worse the winter. I believe it's that way. But it actually has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the age of the caterpillar when you actually saw it. Nothing to do with the winter whatsoever.
It's just fun,
right?
But
we'll continue to track the winter outlook and continue to update you on that in the days and weeks ahead.
Always.
Thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you on Monday with another edition of Wisconsin Weather Experts.